Welcome to Issues That Matter. My guest today is Scott Ritter. I'm Cynthia Pooler. And we're going to talk about today about the Republican control of the House of Representatives. So, Scott, it's going to be a very narrow majority, and it looks like McCarthy might not get the speaker. So what's your take on the overall situation with the Republicans gaining control by a slim majority?
Well, I think the first thing is the Republicans have to come to grips with what they not only with what they think their mandate is, but what is their mandate. The fact that this wasn't a red wave means that the Republicans can't say there's overwhelming support for us. I mean, everybody expected the Republicans to take control of the House. This is generally the outcome in a midterm election. Most presidents fail to live up to their expectations, and Joe Biden has failed egregiously. And this also has to be factored in because the absolute lack of support for this president and his dismal, approval ratings should have been fodder for the Republicans. This should have been a red wave without even trying. And so the fact that it wasn't, that it this narrow majority means that the Republicans are doing something wrong. There's something wrong with the Republican message. It's not resonating to the degree that the Republican Party had hoped for. And this translates into what exactly the mandate they think they have and mandate they were actually given. Is this a radical mandate? Is this something that the Republicans can take and run with? Did the American people vote for the impeachment of Joe Biden? Did they vote for the impeachment of anybody? Did they vote for a slowing down of the economy, paralysis in Washington, D.C.? Did they vote for the elevation of Donald Trump? There's a lot of Republicans who think that that's what's going to happen now that there's a Republican-controlled Congress. I would hesitate to jump on that bandwagon. I would say that the Republicans are not as popular as they think they are, that they don't have a mandate for reactionary or revolutionary change, that the American public are very concerned about the state of the economy, but they're also concerned about the state of America, that the Republican agenda is not the agenda of America. It's the agenda of a good portion of America, but that especially going into the 2024 elections, if the Republicans don't play this right, not only may they not get the White House, they may not get the Senate, they may not get the House. So the Republicans can't overplay the hand they've been dealt right now, because if they do, I think that the Democratic Party will find a way not only to retain control of the White House, but gain control of Congress. And then where are the Republicans going to be at that point in time?
You say the Democrats might retain control of the White House. I mean, Biden's not very popular, and there's nobody else in the wings that could replace him. And I think that they're skating on really thin ice.
Well, the whole country's skating on thin ice, but let's look at it this way. Donald Trump is sitting on 25-30% guaranteed support in the Republican Party. If the Republicans decide to challenge him, because he's announced, are they going to say just one person, DeSantis? We're just going to put DeSantis up against Trump. If they do that, DeSantis might have a chance. It'll be ugly, but DeSantis might have a chance. But there's so many Republicans out there who think they're the person to lead. What happens when 17 of them get in the race? If 17 get in the race, if 10 get in the race, if 7 get in the race, Donald Trump wins. And if Donald Trump wins, Joe Biden might be president again. Because Donald Trump's not going to be president of the United States again. It just isn't going to happen. It's not in the cards. Not enough Americans support him. Not enough Republicans support him. And as bad as Joe Biden is, I just see I see the Democrats, because the Democrats aren't about the individual. If you vote for Joe Biden, you're not voting for Joe Biden. You're voting for the system. You're voting for the establishment, the Democrat establishment.
Uh-huh.
And as bad as that is, that's better than voting for Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump doesn't have an establishment. And what is his presidency going to be about? It's 4 years. He can't run for 8 years. So it's 4 years of what?
Right.
Revenge, spite, hate.
Mhm.
We don't need that. We don't need that at all. Donald Trump could have been a revolution if he had 8 years. I would have been very interested to see what America would have looked like if Donald Trump had won re-election, because I think there was some real change taking place. We take a look at the demographic support of the Republican Party. I think Donald Trump, had he had a chance to engage on the economy in a more meaningful fashion, could have attracted more Blacks, more Latinos, even more women, white women, because at the end of the day, the Americans vote their pocketbook, and Donald Trump would have made their pocketbook heavier with cash. But we won't know, because Joe Biden came in, he's just destroyed the economy. And he got us involved in this ridiculous war in Ukraine. We're involved, by the way. I mean, Americans may not know it, but we're involved. It's our war. We own it. And we're paying the price for it. And it would have been a radical departure from the current situation had Donald Trump won. I believe Americans would be riding high right now, instead of on the verge of a recession, and if Biden keeps going, a depression. But as bad as all that is, Trump offers nothing right now. Nothing. Literally, what would a Trump presidency be about? No president runs for 4 years. No president runs for 4 years. Nobody says, I'm a 4-year president. When Americans vote for a president, they want an 8-year president. They're looking at somebody who can give them, because to get the change needed in Washington, D.C., given the reality of our politics, you need 2 terms. You need the first term to establish yourself, and you need the second term to get the real change. And, as bad as Biden is, and again, I'm not saying anything praiseworthy about Biden. He's horrible. But as bad as he is, the fact is the Democratic establishment will sell that, hey, especially if the Republicans fumble over the course of the next 2 years, and the Republicans are going to mess this up. They're going to try and impeach the guy. They're going to try and turn this into, political revenge. Everything the Democrats did to Donald Trump, they're going to do to Joe Biden in the next 2 years. And they're just going to double down, politics of destruction, etc. And it's not good for America. It is not good for America. Forget Joe Biden, forget Hunter Biden, forget the nonsense, forget the politics of personal destruction. It's time people start thinking about you, me, and all the other Americans out there. We need good things to happen in Washington, D.C., and watching our elected representatives play stupid political games on TV is not what's going to help us. That's what the Republicans are going to give us. And if they do that, then the Democrats are going to say, hey, just give us one more chance. We got Biden. Okay, yeah, he was messy, he was sloppy, not good. But you give us Congress, we can work with Biden, and we can lead America forward. And you and I are both rolling our eyes, but that's a better sales pitch than Donald Trump, especially if the Republicans sit here and play games over the course of the next 2 years, because that's all Donald Trump's going to do for 4 years is play stupid games. He had his shot. He got his 4-year term. He missed out on the second 4-year term for whatever reason. You can come up with any excuse you want to. He didn't get it. He didn't win. He didn't hold on to the ring. He let go of the ring. Why give it back to him, especially for only 4 years? I think his disregard for the Constitution of the United States is self-canceling.
So Biden just turned 80. This is the day after Thanksgiving, 2022. So he just turned 80. By the next presidential election, he will be 82. And if he serves 4 more years, he'll be 86. I think that's totally ridiculous.
I'm not debating you. I'm not disagreeing with you. But you know what's more ridiculous? Putting Donald Trump back in the presidency. And you're talking to somebody who voted for Trump twice. Putting Donald Trump back in the presidency is more ridiculous. Why? Because I think we have to reflect on the reality of the American the political the American political reality. This isn't about a president. We keep talking about the power of the presidency. Presidents don't have that much power. Yes, they can launch a nuclear war, maybe. Yes, they can sign a law, maybe. But presidents are held prisoner by the establishment. It's the establishment that has the power. You know, Republicans have to be careful here because Republicans run around talking about the deep state all the time. The deep state, the deep state, the deep. What the hell do you think Donald Trump's going to do? He's going to be a prisoner of the deep state, same way he was for the first 4 years. Remember Donald Trump? Why can't we be friends with Russia? Why weren't we friends with Russia, Donald? You were the president. Oh, the establishment prevented you from being friends with Russia. Oh, you wanted to do a nuclear deal with Kim Jong-un. You're the president, Donald. Sign it. Make it happen. Do it. You couldn't because the establishment wouldn't let you. So, you know, the idea that Donald Trump be elected president for 4-year term and achieve anything, establishment would just slow roll him to death for 4 years. He wouldn't get anything accomplished. The Republican Party does not like Donald Trump. People need to understand that. Donald Trump is not the Republican Party. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. That's it. All he cares about is Donald Trump. He doesn't care about the Republican Party. He doesn't care about longevity of the party. He doesn't care about making the party better. He cares about Donald Trump. He wants to be president of the United States so that he can redeem his ego because he lost in 2020. That's not reason enough to be president. And as bad as Joe Biden is, he is a product of the establishment, until which time we can destroy the establishment, remove it from power. The only way America is going to function is by having the establishment remain in power, especially when the alternative is Donald Trump. If you want to change the establishment, get DeSantis in. Get somebody in that can do 8 years. 8 years, and then let's dismantle the establishment. I'm all in favor of that. Donald Trump is not the guy to do that.
Okay, let's talk about the next 2 years. First of all, McCarthy's not very well liked. And there's a possibility, you and I live up in upstate New York, there's talk about Stefanik becoming the Speaker of the House. And there's a couple of other people that have been talked about becoming Speaker of the House. So that's still up in the air as to whether McCarthy's going to make it. Number 2 is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene came out and said, no more funds for Ukraine. The people on MSNBC are going absolutely bonkers over that statement. They're calling her an anti-Semite. They're calling her crazy. But she's the only one saying no more funds for Ukraine. And I applaud her for that. And number 3 is, do you think that there's going to be massive hearings as far as Hunter Biden and what he did in the Ukraine and other things related to Joe Biden's possible shady dealings? And if so, will that cripple the presidency for the next 2 years?
Well, we'll work backwards. I think the Republican Party in the Republicans in the House are going to do nothing but hold hearings. Do nothing. They are so revenge-minded right now, it's not even funny. They feel so aggrieved about what the Democratic Party has done to Donald Trump and to the Republicans that they are just frothing at the mouth. So yes, they are going to hold hearing after hearing after hearing after hearing. And they are going to focus on Hunter Biden's laptop, and they're going to focus on Joe Biden's shady dealings, and they're going to focus on money wasted in Ukraine. They're going to go after Afghanistan, the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And that's all fine and dandy. But again, here's the problem. They don't have the mandate for that. They have the votes, but they don't have the mandate. America doesn't care about Hunter Biden's laptop. America doesn't care about Joe Biden's shady deals. If they did, they wouldn't have voted for the guy. Guy got over 80 million votes. Not all of them could have been fraudulent. So there's a large number of Americans who said, we don't care. Just like there's a large number of Americans that said about Donald Trump's, messy personal life, we don't care. And so what are the Republicans trying to prove here? They're trying to what? Win over a base, the base of Trump supporters. But then what happens when you get beyond that? What happens when you get to the independents? Do they care enough about Hunter Biden's laptop to watch America be paralyzed in 2 very critical years? We are slouching towards a recession, could easily go into a depression, and Hunter Biden's laptop is that which Congress needs to be worrying about. Look, I'm not singing Hunter Biden's praises. I think there's something in there in that laptop that is worthy of criminal prosecution. I'm just saying that in terms of congressional priorities, this ain't it. Fixing the economy is it. Getting us out of a war in Ukraine, preventing a war with Russia, making sure we don't go to war with China over Taiwan. These are like the big ticket priorities, not Hunter Biden's laptop, not Joe Biden's shady deals. Let me tell you this too. They all have shady deals, every single one of them, especially the senators. But anybody who's been in the House more than 2 terms is crooked as you look at their stock portfolios. That's all I'm going to say. If their stock portfolios are outperforming the benchmark by a significant amount, it's called insider trading. And it's not just Nancy Pelosi that does it, it's every single one of them. That's how they take their measly little congressional salary and turn it into a $20 million mansion. How does AOC afford what she's doing on her salary? Because AOC, I bet, has a stock portfolio that's performing quite well. It's like, how did Hillary Clinton go from being a third-rate lawyer in Arkansas to suddenly having money in the bank? It was called whitewater. What was whitewater? Whitewater was insider trading. Whitewater was how you convert a little bit of money into a lot of money, and that's how all politicians enrich themselves, because America is corrupt. We are corrupted by the money that flows into politics. We're corrupted by the notion that national service isn't about serving the nation, but serving yourself. Not what you can do for the country, but what the country can do to enrich you. And that's why you go to, how many people genuinely go to Congress to serve their country? Every single one of them, with some few exceptions. Marjorie Taylor Greene might be one of those exceptions, by the way, says, I'm here because this is the beginning of a process that will lead me to be a senator, a governor, or the president of the United States. They're all narcissists who think that they're the one for that job. The last person they're serving is you and me and the American people. Now we come to Marjorie Taylor Greene. God bless her. I don't agree with much that Marjorie Taylor Greene does. She's very, very Trumpish, far right, and all that stuff, but she's voted in by her constituents. She represents her constituents, and she represents them in a way that got her reelected. So she's doing something right. But, let me put it this way. Who would have thought that Ronald Wilson Reagan would have been the man who ended the Cold War? Who would have been the man that suddenly stopped viewing the Soviet Union as the evil empire and engaged, instead of an arms race, in disarmament? You wouldn't have thought it, but it happened. Marjorie Taylor, sometimes the greatest, the greatest avenue for change comes from the least likely source. She's on to something here. She's on to something big. And I hope the Republican Party listens to her. This isn't just about the war in Ukraine. Because, to be frank, there's more Russophobes in the Republican Party than there are in the Democratic Party. Russophobia is rampant. This is about accountability to the American people. This is about American taxpayer money going off to do something that nobody in America voted for. Nobody in America really supports. Nobody in America really understands. And we had a Democratic-controlled Congress with a hefty amount of Republican control saying, we don't care about the American people. One of the things about the Constitution is that they gave the House of Representatives the power of the purse to control the money. Why would you give control of the money to the least stable element of Congress? If you really want to have financial stability, give it to Senate. Those dudes are in there for 6 years, which is a lifetime. But you gave it to the House. Why? Because of the direct cause and effect relationship between what they do and the will of the people. If you screw up in the House, you're out. You're done. They'll put somebody else in there to replace you. And that meant that the founding fathers believed that how we spend our money as a nation should be influenced by the will of the people. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene's onto something here. The
Okay.
American people get angry when we send billions of dollars away with no accountability, especially when it turns out that it's all been wasted on a dead end cause. And moreover, some of it's been diverted in the hands of terrorists and criminals who are going to assassinate our own leaders and shoot down airplanes using the weapons we gave to the Ukrainians without accountability. So she's on to something. This could be
Okay.
a game changer.
But what you're saying, I agree with. But a lot of people do not think through this whole thing like you do. And what they hear on MSNBC, they hear, oh, she's a kook, she's crazy, and they believe it. They don't hear that she said, stop sending money to Ukraine. They don't even know that. So,
Right, but remember McCarthyism. I know we don't, you might, but I don't. I mean, I know of McCarthyism, but I even think that you're too young to remember it firsthand.
right.
But there was a moment, and I'll get the names wrong, but McCarthy was up there and he was going after an army lawyer or somebody in the army, and another person basically said, "Have you no shame?" Intervene.
Right.
Have you no shame? And that was a moment where the American people who were caught up in the Red Scare, they all of a sudden went, "Oh my God, what have we done? What have we done? What have we become?" Marjorie Taylor Greene, if the Republicans are smart, they're going to appoint her to the Appropriations Committee. And she may already be on it. I have to double check. But she's going to be on, the beauty about being an MSNBC correspondent or whatever is you have no power. You're a nobody. You're a loser. You're up there talking about what other people are doing. Marjorie Taylor Greene is no longer going to be the fringe. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be on a committee holding to account of government officials, and she's going to be asking questions to which they have no answers. And the American public is going to sit there and go, holy cow, she's got a point. What the hell do you mean we have no accountability? You said you did what? And suddenly they're all going to be focused on her. And the MSNBC people are going to be pulling their hair out going, geez, she's got authority. She's got legitimacy. If she does this right, she could become Senator Marjorie Taylor Greene. And if she does it really right, she can become President Marjorie Taylor Greene, because what Donald Trump proved is that a populist can be president. And if she does this right, who knows and I'm not saying this is good for America. I'm saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene is on to something. She's on one of the few issues now that can actually turn this country around from being fight to everybody focused on going, what do you mean you sent tens of billions of dollars to Ukraine and you don't know what happened to it?
Right.
And if she does this right, the beginning of a limitless future for her, and it's the end of the system of corruption, at least as it applies to Department of Defense, U.S. taxpayer money, and the war in Ukraine.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how far she gets, how her message resonates, and if people are willing to listen. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think people are going to, for 2 years, are going to have no choice but to listen, because this is one of those issues. Now, here's the key question. Is the Republican Party going to let this happen? You see, the Republican Party is more interested, I believe, in Hunter Biden's laptop than they are in accounting for billions of dollars in Ukraine.
Really?
Sure, they all voted for that money. Right? Come on, there's only a handful of people. Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of the only people that said no. All the other Republicans are going, yes, 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 because Russophobia is the easiest thing to do, easiest point, cards to play. And they're all sitting there going, God, if she gets away with this, we look bad because we voted for it. So the Republican Party may very well say, we ain't giving her that platform, or we'll do it in a token fashion. The chairman will take control, silence her, gavel it through, and that's it. Because the Republican Party, unfortunately, thinks they get more bang out of Hunter Biden's laptop than they do out of finding out what happened to tens of billions of dollars of taxpayer money in Ukraine.
Wow. So the next 2 years are going to be very interesting.
The
And
Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times.
well, it's not only going to be 2 years, it's going to be who's going to be the next nominees for president
Yeah.
and what's going to happen then.
This country, I'll tell you this. I mean, I don't mean to offend everybody, but I'm going to, because we're the worst citizens the world has ever seen. We have a nation of 350 million people. We have some of the best educated people out there. We have some of the most morally fit people. We have people with great ideas, with great leadership qualities. And you're really telling me that the best we can do in 2024 is an 82-year-old senile old man and a guy who's just a few years younger who only cares about himself. America, we're broke. That alone tells us that we're broke, that we allow a Democratic Party system. It's not democratic. People have no say in it. The Democratic Party system puts up an 82-year-old senile old man. He's barely functional. And the Republican Party looks like it's in a position to put up a narcissist who only cares about himself and not the country. And that's it. That's what we have for national leadership. And where's the bench? Problem is, we've invested so much in this guy and that guy, there is no bench.
Uh-huh.
Ron DeSantis may be the only bench out there, and I don't think the Republican Party is going to give him a shot. If they were, then they'd make him the only candidate, because then he could beat Donald Trump. I think DeSantis in a face-to-face primary with Donald Trump wins hands down, comes away with easily 60-70% of the vote. But that's not, they're going to dilute it. They're going to dilute it. They're going to dilute it. And DeSantis may not be able to make it, to the end. Donald Trump has proven he can do it in the past. He's a master of it. And because the American people are stupid, we like, stupid little quips. Sleepy Joe. That's great, man. Sleepy Joe, vote for Trump. What do you call Rubio? He made a fun of, little Marco. Oh, ain't that funny? Little Marco. Ted Cruz. We make fun of Ted Cruz. That's what Donald Trump does. He makes fun of people. He belittles people. And the American public laughs and thinks it's wonderful without asking the question, well, what do you stand for, Donald? What do you represent? What are you going to do for me? And he had a shot that he'd been reelected because he was doing things. The Democratic Party didn't like what he was doing, because he was stripping away the blacks from the Democratic Party. He was stripping away the women. He was stripping away the Latinos. But now he's going to have, 4 years? He can't accomplish anything in 4 years. So why put him in there?
Okay, so we're gonna have plenty of great conversations over the next few years. So first of all, give your blog a little plug.
I'll give it a little plug. ScottRitterExtra.com. I put a piece out earlier this week about Roger Waters and me, and I'm putting out a piece today about my opinion on the peace movement, which is not very high. I publish all the articles that I write in various other forums, whether Energy Intelligence, RT, Consortium News. And anytime I go on a podcast such as this one, we link it to that so people can watch it. So ScottRitterExtra.com. And if you feel inclined to support what I'm doing, there's a mechanism for you to do that on the Substack page as well. But none of it's all free. None of it's hidden behind a paywall.
And how's your book coming along?
Well, we'll never know until the publisher releases all the figures, but it seems to be going well. There's demand for it. So when I can get in front of people and talk about it, they tend to buy it. So, but it's very tough, going through a small publisher and promoting it independently or with the help, with people like yourself and others. That's a whole different world than if I was published by Simon and Schuster and they had their PR mechanism out there and I was appearing on all the talk shows and all that stuff. Then your book moves. We're taking the guerrilla warfare approach, and we're doing okay.
That's great. You're going to be doing speaking engagements for your book. Where will they be?
Well, the next ones are in Michigan, actually. I'm speaking in Ann Arbor, Michigan for 3 consecutive days. Now, after I publish my piece about the peace movement, they may disinvite me because I'm not very complimentary of the peace movement or the anti-war movement. How could I be? We're at war. They're not doing a good job. But I'm going to go speak to them on December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And then I believe sometime in the middle of the month, around December 15th, but I'll have to triple check. There might be something with Bethlehem Neighbors for Peace
Oh, that would be great.
at the maybe the library. I don't know. I
Okay.
have to check with Joe Lombardo on how that's going on. And then and there'll be some other opportunities. I know on January 15th, for anybody who might be in New York City at the time, I'm speaking at the Russian Samovar for a dinner where the book is there, and I'll be signing books afterwards. And then, so if you go to the RussianSamovar.com website, you can look at that. And I think there's other things in the works. I'll let you know as soon as they mature.
Terrific. So you had a good Thanksgiving?
I am very overfed. I need to go to the gym and and work some of this off. But unfortunately, there's always delicious leftovers.
Right.
So I think the gym's going to take go on the bench while the finishing the meal takes the
Right.
starting lineup.
So we'll talk again soon. You've been listening to Scott Ritter. I'm Cynthia Pooler. This is Issues That Matter. And if you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Have a great day and belated happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Talk to you soon, Scott.
Okay, Cynthia. Happy Thanksgiving.